WWRR, Scranton, Wilkes-Barre, WMMZ, Berwick, Bloomsburg, Hazleton, WYCK, Plains.
Powered by Mohegan Sun Pocono.
It's the New River, 105 and 103.5.
This is Music on the Menu on the River.
Timothy, where on earth did you go?
Featuring Northeast PA's best artists.
Maybe, never mind. She can move me like the stereo, like a song on the radio. She's an angel in the morning, yeah, that's me.
And now, here's your host, Alan K. Stout.
So I got that going for me, which is nice.
All right, everybody. Happy Sunday night. Welcome to Music on the Menu on the River. Alan K. Stout with you, as I always am. Sunday nights, 9 to 10 o'clock. Playing your regional artists doing their own original material from right here in northeastern Pennsylvania. Hanging out with D.C. Taylor. D.C., how are you, my friend?
Good, Alan. How's it going?
Good. Now, last Sunday night, we talked about how it was Championship Sunday and that we hoped that our teams would be playing in the championship game against each other this evening.
Yeah.
We're home. We're done. We're out. So,
nice. You know what? I say it's nice relief to have that stress off of our minds until next year.
It's the one advantage. You don't have all that stress all week.
Exactly.
So we're not going to talk about that anymore tonight, but we didn't want you to think we forgot about it.
Right.
We have some special guests here in the studio tonight. Ed Randazzo is with us and Bret Alexander. First of all, gentlemen, great to see you both. Thanks for coming back and hanging out with us again.
Thanks for inviting me.
It's always a pleasure to see you both. And the reason that we have these guys in is because when Ed was with us back in October and did the music series at Breakers, we were talking at the time about the forthcoming album that was, going to be out shortly. And it's a sort of a celebration of your 10 years of recording with Bret.
Sure.
It's called Who's That Man? Collected Songs, 2008 to 2018. And that record is out now.
It's out.
And so we told you at the time you got to come back when the record's out. And so here we are, celebrating the release of this album. So we're going to play songs throughout the whole program tonight from the record, talk about some of those songs, talk about your relationship with Bret as an artist in the studio, as a collaborator and your producer. Maybe we'll get to that first. Take us back 10 years ago to the first time you walked into Saturation Acres recording studio to record. How did that come to be? How did Bret become the producer that you chose to work with? And at that point in your life, what made you think that that was something I wanted to do?
Well, I had reached out to Bret. I had entered Saturation Acres September of 2008, but I had reached out to him earlier in July and said, I have this idea to do lay down some folk songs that I want to reinterpret, 4 or 5. Would you have time? And he got back to me pretty quickly, and oh yeah, sure. And before I knew it, a meeting was set up. We met, kind of chatted, and got an idea of where I wanted to head, and I don't know, I blinked, and then before you knew it, we had a full 10-track album.
Because in 2008, Bret is already a very well-known and accomplished producer. He had Saturation Acres at that point for 9 years. The Badleys, the work with Breaking Benjamin, so many other local artists, that had gone there. So was that reputation part of what made you pick up, reach out to him?
Well, I
know you used to go see the band.
Yeah, I knew the Badleys pretty intimately via my sister, Dawn. And interestingly enough, every time I would go see a Badleys gig, Bret was the one that I would sort of focus on, because I always thought, wow, he could pick up anything and play it well, and he sings, and I kind of liked and still do, the darkness of the songwriting that Bret puts out. And when he released Gentleman East, I just thought, wow, this is really dark, and there's ghosts on here, and I thought, I want to do something like that.
Yeah.
Like, he's if I'm going to do something, he's the man that I want.
He got your vibe, yeah.
Yeah.
And Bret, what are your recollections of that first time you were working with Ed in the studio?
Working with, I mean, we hit it off pretty quickly as far as musical taste and personally as well. It really was a fairly quick thing. I mean, I remember he came in with that song "House Carpenter," which I loved. Was a cover he did. Was like a Bob Dylan, traditional folk song. I loved the Dylan version of it, so I was excited about that. He brought in a Bill Withers song, which I love Bill Withers.
Yeah.
So I mean, musically, it was a really like kind of kindred spirit thing right from the beginning, and I mean, I can't say felt like I knew Ed for years. I mean,
yeah.
Like we were making music in minutes.
Right.
And that's the way it was. It's the way it's kind of always been.
10 years down the road now. Well, let's play a new track that was recorded for the celebration of 10 years of recording. This one's called Soldier Soldier.
Soldier, would you marry me before the fight comes on? How can I marry such a pretty little girl when I've got no suit to put on? Well, she went to the dry goods store, hard as she could run. She bought the finest looking suit in the store. Go on, soldier, and put this on. I said, soldier, now, soldier, would you marry me before the fight comes on? How can I marry such a pretty little girl when I've got no shoes to put on? Well, she went to the dry goods store, hard as she could run. She bought the finest looking shoes in the store. Go on, soldier, and try these on. I said, soldier, now, soldier, would you marry me before the fight comes on? How can I marry such a pretty little girl when I've got no hat to put on? Well, she went to the dry goods store, hard as she could run. She bought the finest looking hat in the store. Go on, soldier, and put this on. Soldier, no, no, no. I said a soldier. Soldier, no, no, no. I said a soldier. Well, soldier, now, soldier, would you marry me before the fight comes on? How can I marry such an ugly little girl when I've got my pretty wife back home? So hard to recognize. Watch out for the devil in disguise. You might be wrong, you might be wrong, everybody says about it. You don't believe in destiny, it's true. Ain't nobody watching over you. Every time it happens, but don't you ever trust the way you feel. Why you gotta reinvent the wheel? Every time it might be true. Don't you know it might be true? Don't you know it might be true? What everybody says about it. And I was wasting my time looking for reason in every rhyme, and I was under its spell, so underwhelmed, thinking it over. Thinking it over. Thinking it over. But then again, don't you ever wanna change your mind? Got your senses working overtime. You might be wrong. You might be wrong. It might be true. Don't you know it might be true? Don't you know it might be true? What everybody says about it.
Bret Alexander here on Music on the Menu on the River with a song called True. It's funny, Ed Randazzo mentioned the Gentleman East record in the first segment, and that's a track from that record. I picked that out before I knew you were going to even talk about the Gentleman East record tonight. Before that, brand new music from Ed Randazzo, a song called Soldier, Soldier. We're hanging out here with Ed and Bret tonight, celebrating the release of Ed's new record, Who's That Man? Collected Songs, 2008 to 2018. We talked in the first segment about your first, adventure into the studio with Bret, and the first time you decided to record some songs. But doing the math here, Ed, so it's 10 years ago. You're about 30 years old, and that's when you decide to give it a shot for the first time in the studio, anyway. But obviously, you must have known that you had something. You must have known, I think I can do this. I think I could sing. I think I could write. At age 30, what's going on in your life at that time, or what led you to that point where, obviously, I've known you since you were a teenager through your sister Dawn, and who was a big fan of the Badleys, and we used to go see the band all the time back then. But, I didn't know that part of your life. I didn't know that I'd see you at the shows. What was going on in your life that brought you to that point where you thought, this is something I really want to do? When did you realize you could sing?
Well, I went out to a bar one night after work, and I remember singing a song by Annie Lennox, and I got done, and the crowd was crying, and I thought, well, they're either crying because they were moved or I suck. But I since found out that they were moved, and she has always been vocally very much an inspiration as far as vocally and range and things like that. So
I know from following you on Facebook, you love female artists, like Cranberries and Annie Lennox.
A little bit.
Yeah. And some of your other favorites. Who are some of your other favorites besides those two? Those two jump out at me because I know you post their songs from time to time. I know Bill Withers, obviously.
Yeah.
We've talked about Bill.
Definitely, and one of the other big ones is Natalie Merchant is big. But as I got hanging out with you, Bret, I think more of the male side of singer-songwriters came out. You know, Bill Withers and you know, all of the blues artists that I covered. But Bret and I always joke, you know, how many chick songs are on the set tonight? You know, because there's Nina Simone and Annie Lennox and Stevie Nicks, and I mean. So many.
I've heard you do her too down at Tony's. That's always fun.
It just feels good. You know, especially a song like "Here Comes the Rain Again." I always felt that, you know, guys feel that way too, and so or "Dreams" by Fleetwood Mac. I mean, people have come up to both of us and said, "Oh, you know, Ed should record that," and so, I mean, maybe, but you know, you can't put anything down because it gets expensive.
Yeah. We're going to play one now that was, I think, the first one we ever played on the show 10 years ago. Ring Them Bells from Randazzo. This was the first, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah, I thought so. Check it out.
Ring them bells for me, ring them bells for me, ring them bells and I'll come a-running home. Ring them bells for me, Lord, ring your bells for me, ring your bells and I'll come a-running home. I'll be waiting by the gate. I promise, Lord, I won't be late. When I hear your sweet, sweet song, I'll know then it won't be long till I come home. Ring them bells for me, Lord, ring your bells for me. Ring your bells and I'll come a-running home. I'll be waiting by the gate. Tell them angels I won't be late. When I hear their sweet, sweet song, I'll know then it won't be long till I come home. Won't be long. It won't be long. Ring them bells for me, Lord, ring them bells for me, ring them bells and I'll come a-running home. Ring them bells for me, Lord, ring them bells for me, ring them bells and I'll come a-running home. One big rug, you sweep it under. It makes your heart beat faster all the time. You've seen it as it slumber. Your lucky days are numbered. So you take it while you can, there's been no crime. Mine is fine, just maybe too much sunshine. Happiness can be too much to bear. Once you've reached this point, you've crossed a fine line. Good news is taking, never giving. It's the nature of your rhythm. I can see there's trouble in your eyes. It's evidence you're keeping hidden. I don't know how you think you're kidding. You can tell them what you want, but it's all a lie. Mind is fine, just maybe too much sunshine. Happiness can be too much to bear. Once you've reached this point, you've crossed a fine line. The good news is you're far too gone to care. Walking on a fine line, there's no time to kill. Walking on a fine line, it's all uphill. Walking on a fine line, yeah. One thing I know you're missing. Now if you would only listen. Way deep down in drunken misery, you'll always be the one who sold you. You can't say I've never told you, but all the highs you left behind were all for free. Mind is fine, just maybe too much sunshine. Happiness can be too much to bear. Once you've reached this point, you've crossed the fine line. Good news is you're far too gone to care. Walking on a fine line, baby, too much sunshine. Baby, too walking on a fine line, baby, too much sunshine. Baby, too much.
Mere Mortals here on Music on the Menu on the River with a song called Waiting on a Fine Line featuring Eddie Apnell. And I threw a little Eddie Apnell in because I know that you enjoy hanging out with Eddie on Wednesdays down at Tony's. And of course, Bret co-hosts that night with Eddie every Wednesday night. Before that, Ed Randazzo with a song called Ring Them Bells. The guys are hanging out in the studio. We're talking about Ed's brand new record, which celebrates his 10 years of recording. And we're going to take a quick break, but we'll be back in a flash, so stick around.
The Woodlands is celebrating 50 years. Do you believe it? 50 years. For 2 generations of the Kornfeld family, there's a pretty good chance that you or someone you know slept in one of their beds. Over those 50 years, most of you came out and partied with them on the deck for 5 Day, or inside the 25th Hour, or Evolution nightclubs. For 5 decades, how many of you have dined in their legendary Left Bank Bistro or Time Restaurant? And in half of a century, thousands of you celebrated your first dance in the Grand Ballroom. For 50 years, the Woodlands has been reinventing itself, and they're not done yet. Now, they're proud to introduce the area's newest outdoor wedding venue, the Bridal Gardens, and the creation of their Streamside Apartments. The Woodlands wants to thank all of you who got them there and invite you to swing by for sushi, grab some pizza, listen to some live music, or just stop in for a cocktail. They're not slowing down. They promise. They're just getting started. Check them out at thewoodlandsresort.com.
All right, we're back here on Music on the Menu on the River, hanging out with Bret Alexander and Ed Randazzo. You know, and Ed, the record is a 10-year retrospective, and during the break there, you know, you just mentioned off air, you never thought you'd be in a place where you could have that ability to look back at 10 years of work and pick out some of your favorites and put them together. How does that feel, knowing you now have the quote unquote body of work to choose from?
It feels great because this now becomes a springboard for the next thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's great to be able to stand on this.
You tie a bow on those 10 years, that kind of thing. You think of it that way?
Especially sitting next to Bret, we're kind of like, yeah, this is awesome. And it really is, even to look at it, like physically made and done.
How did you go about picking out the songs? Did you pick them yourself? Did you and Bret talk about it together? How did that go down?
There was a little bit of everything. I definitely, I had an idea in my head, but then I consulted Bret and said, is there what's missing or what can be taken off? And for example, I remember Bret and Paul Smith, who mastered the record, they were in the beginning processes of mastering, and Bret was like, this is one of my picks, and one of his picks is the rock version of Let Me Go.
Oh, yeah.
You chose that one. So
I'm going to play that one a little later in the show.
I did a lot of listening to what people really liked. Example, Wade in the Water. When that first came out on the Joy record, I had a friend that said, that should have been a single. So I thought, why don't we represent it again?
Yeah.
And then
if someone thinks that way about it, then it's obviously a strong track.
We got a lot of reaction from Wade in the Water, I think. And Ring Them Bells, to go back to Ring Them Bells, people were approaching me after gigs and saying, is Ring Them Bells available on CD anymore? So I wanted to sort of reintroduce Ring Them Bells.
Make it available.
And it just became this really neat kind of
process. Yeah.
Cool.
Let's play another one from the record. This one's called Devil's Trail.
There is a place called Devil's Trail. If you have the time, I'll tell the tale. It is a place so dark and low, no angels fly, and a cold wind blows. There is a house on Devil's Trail where there lives a man so thin and frail. He'll steal your soul, he'll steal your eyes, he'll steal your heart and tell you lies. It's grief you'll see here and all around, from the bloodied sky to the withered ground, a trail of doom to seal your fate, where the hounds of hell, they guard the gate. On this trail, a doorless cave, get too close, you'll be his slave. Hypnotized, lost in his trance, forever held in the devil's dance. Don't bother to scream, you won't break free. On Devil's Trail, you'll forever be wandering lost in the abyss of Devil's Trail, its tempting kiss. So keep yourself safe, don't give in, for Devil's Trail is a trail of sin. But if you go, please take heed, you'll reach your death at a sickening speed. You won't be spared, I know this well, I know the tale of Devil's Trail. devil's trail. Mama, take this badge off of me. I can't use it anymore. No, no, I can't. It's getting too dark for me to see. Me to see. It feels like I'm knocking on heaven's door. Knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door. Knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door. Oh, Lord. Knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door. Knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door. Mama put these guns in the ground, in the ground. I can't shoot them anymore, no, no, I can't. A long black cloud is hanging down on me now. It feels like I'm knocking on heaven's door. Knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door. Knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door. Oh, Lord, I'm knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door. Knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound. I once was lost, but now I sure am found. I walk this road of life, sometimes it's dark and cold, but now I find myself at the door of the Lord, and I'm knocking. I'm knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door. Knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door. Oh, Lord. Knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door. I'm knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door.
Ed Randazzo, Bret Alexander here on Music on the Menu on the River with a fabulous cover of the Bob Dylan classic Knockin' on Heaven's Door. And before that, another one from Ed's new compilation record of 10 years of recording, a song called Devil's Trail. Now, we've been talking with Bret a lot, or Eddie during the show quite a bit, and Bret's here as well, weighing in a little bit more on the top of the program. But Bret, what I wanted to ask you is, I mean, you talked about earlier that first time coming in where you worked with Ed and how you kind of clicked right away and had a lot of musical commonalities. But now that you've been doing it for 10 years, what's your favorite part of working with Ed in the studio? Is he easy to work with? Is he a pain in the butt? I mean, we're all friends here. So
no, Eddie's not hard to work with. Yeah. But the thing that's kind of fun about doing records with Ed is, when you're making a record with a band or something, they come in with their songs and you kind of listen to the songs, you do a little rehearsal and you say, hey, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? Or a songwriter comes in and plays you the song on his guitar, and then you say, well, I think this would sound good with, electric guitars and maybe a violin or something like that. With Ed, all you get is his voice. So he comes in and he has the words, and then he just starts singing me what he's got, and then it's like, well, it's backwards. So you're like, okay, well, usually you build a foundation, then you put the house on top of it. Yeah. In the case of Ed, he comes in with the curtains and everything, and then I got to build a house around that. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's a unique, and you end up doing things that you wouldn't do because that's not the way it usually goes. Right. So creatively, I guess that's fun and challenging. It's a blast. Yeah, it's a blast. And he comes in and he'll kind of sing me the parts and sing, have the lyrics, and then I'm sitting there with the guitar, kind of noodling around, trying to figure out, what key's in, what style he's in, how we want to make this feel. And how does that feel for you, Ed, when Bret makes that happen? When he takes your melody and your lyrics and turns them into a song, really? I mean, the song's there. I know, you know what I'm saying, but takes it up to where you wanted it to be.
Well, it's always good to have a fantastic editor in your back pocket, and I feel like that's who Bret is. And he, once we hash it out, there's a moment where you can tell, oh, we get it together, and then it takes off.
And there it is. Yeah. Let's play another one from the record. This one's called Wade in the Water.
Going to the river ain't got no time. Going to the river ain't got no time. Going to the river ain't got no time. But I'll be back. There's a man with the message waiting for me there. A man with the message waiting for me there. A man with the message waiting for me there. But I don't understand. How long till I come back again? How long till I come back? Wade in the water up to my chest. Wade in the water up to my chest. Wade in the water up to my chest. And dream of where I've been. How long till I come back again? How long till I come back?
Ed Randazzo here on Music on the Menu on the River with Bret Alexander with a song called Wade in the Water. We've been hanging out with Bret and Ed for the whole hour here talking about the new record. I just want to remind people, though, that we will be back with Music on the Menu live at Breakers on Wednesday, February 6th with Billy Spanton. So I just confirmed that this week with Billy, and he did the show with us about 2 years ago. I really like Billy's stuff. If you listen to the show on Sundays, you know we play it all the time. And so something to look forward to. Mark your calendars, February 6th. Billy Spanton at Breakers as part of Music on the Menu Live. We're going to take a quick break now, but we'll be back in a flash with more Ed Randazzo and Bret Alexander, so stick around.
The Woodlands is celebrating 50 years. Do you believe it? 50 years. For 2 generations of the Kornfeld family, there's a pretty good chance that you or someone you know slept in one of their beds. Over those 50 years, most of you came out and partied with them on the deck for 5 Day, or inside the 25th Hour, or Evolution nightclubs. For 5 decades, how many of you have dined in their legendary Left Bank Bistro or Time Restaurant? And in half of a century, thousands of you celebrated your first dance in the Grand Ballroom. For 50 years, the Woodlands has been reinventing itself, and they're not done yet. Now, they're proud to introduce the area's newest outdoor wedding venue, the Bridal Gardens, and the creation of their Streamside Apartments. The Woodlands wants to thank all of you who got them there and invite you to swing by for sushi, grab some pizza, listen to some live music, or just stop in for a cocktail. They're not slowing down. They promise. They're just getting started. Check them out at thewoodlandsresort.com.
All right, we're back here on Music on the Menu on the River. NFL Championship Sunday, as we briefly alluded to at the top of the show. We don't want to get too much into it, DC and I. But, DC, by the time we get off the air here, we'll know who's in the Super Bowl. So I was going for the Chiefs and the Saints. How about you?
Chiefs, definitely.
The Philly fan in you, hoping Andy Reid gets his ring?
Yeah, that'd be nice.
So I kind of figured.
Coach Reid, yeah. And whoever else, I don't know. Who's going to be Patriots or else who else?
Patriots or the Saints or the Rams.
Rams, Rams, because I don't like the
Patriots. Okay, all right. Well, yeah, okay. So you're going for the Chiefs against
Chiefs and Rams.
The Rams, okay, not the Saints. Bret, you got any stake in the game here today? I know you're happy my Cowboys are bouncing.
Not really. I'm not but no, I'd like to see the Saints in the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
just because I like Drew Brees. I think he's a class act.
Yeah, me too.
You know, I just like to see him get a shot at it.
Sure. Eddie, you got any interest in this? I know you usually post on my Super Bowl show that you're not watching or something like that.
I'll probably. Well, I'll say this. I'll be knee deep in a bowl of chips and dip somewhere.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Sometimes if you don't like a city that you like the most, that could be it. A lot of people like New Orleans just because it's a fun town or whatever. So we're talking about the new record here. Who's That Man? And we talked so much about how you got to where you were and picking the songs. When you sit, and some of them are covers and some of them are songs that you've written yourself. What have you found over the past 10 years is usually the thing that inspires you to write the most?
Just the humanness of existing, and a lot.
Is there a common muse? Do you prefer to write about things that you've experienced in your own life, or things that you see happening around you, or is it a combination of both? I've asked a lot of songwriters that question over the years, and tend to get a different answer all the time.
I will say this: I don't do happy very well.
Okay.
And I think I've definitely found my lane, and so it's pretty dark and wretched sometimes. You know what I mean? I think Who's That Man is probably the most joyous that you've heard from me. So.
And we're going to talk about that one after the break here, or after we play some more music, because I know that there's a cool story behind that song. This is a song that I remember seeing you play with Bret, and I've talked about this on the show before. I guess it was 2011, I think, or 12. We did a music series at River Common called The Jam in the Park.
Yep.
I always wanted to do something at River Common. I love that little amphitheater with the river behind it. And we only did it that one year. I think the Wilkes-Barre Chamber were behind it and they asked me if I would host it. And I signed right up. We had some good times down there that summer, and I remember you playing this song down there that night, and just blew me away. And it's always been one of my favorites ever since then. It's called "Let Me Go."
Let me go, don't want to love you. I don't want to be here anymore. No, no, no. Let me go, I have to leave here. I have to get away and find myself again. Why did you hurt me? Why did you use me and set me out to dry? I have things you'll never take from me, 'cause I keep them buried way down so deep inside. Let me tell you what you are. You're a love killer, yes. You're a heart stealer, heart stealer. Well, you stole the stars from out of the heavenly sky and made the night go black. Let me go, don't want to sleep here. I don't want to kiss you anymore. No, no, no. Let me go, I have to leave here. I have to run away and find myself again. Why did you hurt me? Why did you use me and set me out to dry? I have things you'll never take from me, 'cause I keep them buried way down so deep inside. Let me tell you what you are. You're a love killer, yes. You're a heart stealer, heart stealer. Well, you stole the stars from out of the heavenly sky and made the night go black. Set me out to dry. I have things you'll never take from me, 'cause I keep them buried way down so deep inside. Let me tell you what you are. You're a love killer, yes. You're a heart stealer, heart stealer. Well, you stole the stars from out of the heavenly sky and made the night go black. Love killer, you're a heart stealer. You made a grown man cry.
With a wave of my hand and a look to the sky, I decide which direction I'll go. And the only regret is the time that it took me to know. 'Cause I've wasted so much in the chase of the prize that the value is starting to show. And it pales in light, and I see that it's time now to go. It's been going on too long. Even the good can break a heart. Even the strong can fall apart. Even the best can fail in struggles with a heart. Even the strongest hope can die. Even the love can say goodbye. But only a fool will try to struggle with a heart. At the risk of defacing the past, I look back and I see how it all came to be. How I almost drowned in the pity that deepens the sea. I can almost remember the cut of the smile. I can almost remember the name. But I'm trying so hard not to repeat the cause or the blame. Now I'm tired of wishing for happiness. I'm so tired of hoping for love. Now I understand what's wrong. I've been on the run so long. Even the good can break a heart. Even the strong can fall apart. Even the best can fail in struggles with a heart. Even the strongest hope can die. Even your love can say goodbye. But only a fool will try to struggle with a heart. Live and learn does not apply, but there's no heart left to break. And the only lesson learned is the mistake. Now I'm tired of guessing which road that I should take. So I'm gonna make the choice that I never thought I'd make. With a wave of my hand and a look to the sky, I decide which direction I'll go. 'Cause for too many years now I've asked myself why, but now I don't wanna know. Even the good can break a heart. Even the strong can fall apart. Even the best can fail in struggles with a heart.
Rick Manwiller here on Music on the Menu on the River, a song called Struggles with the Heart. And before that, Ed Randazzo with a song called Let Me Go. We got a request this week from Rick's daughter, Stephanie, if we could play one of his tracks tonight. It's 3 years ago today that Rick passed away. And obviously, big fan of Rick. And, I miss his ribbing on Facebook. We could talk about football before, but Rick and I used to go at it all the time. But man, I miss him, and I know we all do. One of the great talents, obviously a member of Dakota, and left us with some great music. So we wanted to play something from him this evening. Bret and Eddie, thank you again for coming in tonight. It's been a lot of fun talking to you about 10 years of recording. And congratulations on 10 years of recording. It's a milestone that you should be proud of.
Thank you.
With a great body of work. For folks listening, we have a whole new listenership that we just picked up this year with a whole other frequency down in Southern Luzerne County and Columbia County area. And so we might have some folks that are hearing you for the first time here on the show. Great. So where can people find you if they want to buy some of these tunes or learn more about your music?
Well, I am on the web at www.edrandazzomusic.com. And from there, you can find me on Facebook, Twitter,
iTunes, all your links there for downloads and stuff are there, and to buy the new record.
Sure.
Okay. Well, again, congratulations. So we're gonna close with sort of the title track from the record, and you said one of your happier songs.
Yep. Probably the happiest song. And by the end of it, I'm always, it just makes me chuckle.
Perfect way to end the show. Thanks again, guys, for coming in. We appreciate it.
See ya.
Ed Randazzo, a song called Who's That Man?
Who's that man in the mirror staring back at me? Gray in his hair, weary eyes, and bags for days. That's all I see. Oh, whoa, whoa. Oh, who's that man? I ask you, who's that man? Who's that man in that reflection? Holding on to so much pain, holding on to a single thread. His eyes done gone insane. Oh, who's that man? I ask you, who's that man? It's as black as night now. It's as black as sin. Who's that man who hates his heart, who wants to jump out of his own skin? Oh, a idiot. That man is a idiot. Let's sing, Eddie. Gotta pick yourself up. Gotta get off the ground and hold your head way up. Get outside and sing your song. Sing it loud, sing it strong. So wash that hair, wipe those eyes, and leave your bags at the door. Get outside and sing your song. That's what the world is waiting for. Oh, Eddie, that man is a Eddie. Who's that man in that reflection? Holding on to so much pain, holding on to a single thread. His eyes done gone insane. Oh, who's that man? I ask you, who's that man? Yes, he's been looking for a way out. He's been looking for so long. He wants to get outside and sing his song. Sing it loud, sing it strong. Oh, Eddie, that man is a Eddie. Let's sing, Eddie. Gotta pick yourself up. Gotta get off the ground and hold your head way up. Get outside and sing that song. Sing it loud, sing it strong. Oh, wash that hair, wipe those eyes, and leave your bags at the door. Get outside and sing your song. That's what the world